Hello, welcome to this video about chromosomes, section 8.1 of our textbook. The first thing is to look at the differences in structure between prokaryotic and eukaryotic chromosomes. Here we can see a eukaryotic cell, or cells, in different stages of division, and we see their chromosomes. First, that there are many chromosomes inside here. Each cell has many chromosomes, and that these chromosomes are linear. They're more like lines or chains, as opposed to a prokaryotic cell that has a single chromosome, and that chromosome is a loop. So the two differences between eukaryotic cells with multiple chromosomes, different types of chromosomes inside the same cell that are all linear, and a prokaryotic cell that has a single chromosome that is circular. Taking a closer look at what chromosomes are, whether a chromosome is in a prokaryote or eukaryotic cell, chromosomes are all made of DNA. You have this DNA double helix structure. That DNA is wrapped around proteins called histones, these red proteins that the blue DNA is coiled around. So we have DNA molecule coiled around histones. In that form, it's called chromatin. This is the loosely packed DNA. It's for use in the cell at all times. So DNA wrapped around histone proteins, that's called chromatin. What can happen when the cell wants to divide? It will copy its DNA and then pack that DNA by wrapping it around itself again and again and again into this tightly packed structure called a chromosome. Now, since the DNA was copied, there's twice as much DNA in this chromosome as there would normally be in the cell. Looking at this chromosome, we see two chromatids, two sides of this chromosome connected by a centromere. So we have one chromosome with two chromatids connected by a centromere inside of here. Now, when that centromere breaks during cell division, we'll end up getting one chromosome becoming two chromosomes. Here we can see that kind of split. Here's a cell here, and for simplicity, there's just one chromosome inside this cell. There are two copies of this chromosome, the red copy and the blue copy, but it's the same chromosome. There are two copies of this chromosome in the cell. Each of these chromosomes is very big. It has two chromatids connected by a centromere. When the cell divides, one of those chromosomes goes to one cell, the other goes to another cell. We have two copies of the chromosome in this first cell that's called diploid, two copies. And then in each of the daughter cells, we have one copy of the chromosome, haploid. And then what happens is this haploid cell here, this chromosome splits at the centromere and becomes two chromosomes, one of each going to a new cell. So we have a diploid cell forming a haploid cell, and then a haploid cell forming two other haploid cells, because we have a chromosome with two chromatids connected by a centromere going to this cell, and then that chromosome splitting at the centromere, the two chromatids becoming chromosomes in their own right and being in a new cell. Okay, so if we were to take all the chromosomes inside of a human cell and line them up and take a picture of them and maybe sort them and put them in pairs based on size and the types of genes they have, the biggest chromosomes would be these two. They're chromosome 1, there's two copies of it, it's the diploid cell. Then there's chromosome 2, 3, 4, 5, so on, all the way through chromosome 22. Then this pair called X and Y. When you take all of the chromosomes inside of a diploid cell and you get a photo of them, that's called the karyotype. Karyotype, an image of all the chromosomes inside of a cell. These two chromosomes, the X and the Y, that don't have a match, that don't have another chromosome of the same size with the same genes, that's to say they don't have a homologous match, these X and Y chromosomes are called the sex chromosomes because they determine your sex or your gender, whether you're male or female. All the rest of the chromosomes, chromosomes 1 through 22 in a human, everybody gets two copies of those. They're called the autosomes. So you have the autosomes, chromosomes 1 through 22, and then the sex chromosomes X and Y. And the way that your gender is going to be determined is if an individual gets two X chromosomes, they're a girl, an X and a Y, they're a boy. Okay, one final note on chromosome numbers. As we said already, an individual that has two copies of each chromosome is called diploid. 2N, N meaning number of chromosomes. If they have 2 times the number of normal chromosomes because you have a copy of each, you're called a diploid. You are diploid. All adult humans, all humans are diploid. The gametes, the reproductive cells, the sperm and the egg, those are haploid. So they have half the number of chromosomes as the diploid cell does. So when one of these egg cells meets with one of the sperm cells, they can combine in what we call fertilization and form a new diploid cell. So a diploid cell forms haploid cell, two haploid cells get together, make one diploid cell, and this is how we balance out chromosome numbers over time. Final note on chromosome numbers, different species have different numbers of chromosomes. Humans have the 46 pairs of chromosomes, that's 23 chromosomes, 2 of each, so a total of 46 chromosomes. Orangutans have 48, dogs 78. Species have their own number of chromosomes. Obviously, there's going to be potential for two different species to have the same number of chromosomes, but all members of the same species have the same number of chromosomes.